What's up, guys? Back for another episode of Barbells and Banter. We have our special guest, one of our coaches, Mimi, in the house, talking about how to get results and how to keep them. So we run through our method just on how we work with people to get the results and keep the results and set new goals, because that's the mantra that we have at STCfit. So we spoke about all of the things from the top to the bottom on what it takes to get next level results. And you're going to come out of this with a really clear idea of what a plan would look like for you, or just the moving parts involved in it. If this is your first time here, hit the sub button, hit the follow button with wherever platform you're on. If you're interested in Strong and Lean in 16, we've got applications open. So just head to the website and submit an application. You'll get a call with me. We'll see if we're a right fit. Then we'll start cracking and getting your goals sorted out for you. I'm not going to hold you up anymore. Let's get to the episode. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, so you know when you have lunchtime sports and you pick captains?
Yeah.
And then the captains pick the teams?
We never did that. We just did wogs versus skips.
Yes. Yeah, there was not enough white kids at my school to do
There was
that.
a time back in my day where that's just...
Okay.
And it was totally normal to say that and be okay with it.
Everyone just turn your video on and just see Jason's face right now. He's allowed to say that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. As someone who got called that a lot when he was growing up, it just become a normal thing. So we're just like, all right, how do we divide this?
Yeah.
It's like, all right, if you're white, you're on one team, and if you're cultured, you're on the other team.
Yeah, if we had done that in high school, we would have been outnumbered.
Yeah.
There was no white kids.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. Go to a Catholic high school in the middle of Orchard City.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get outnumbered pretty quick. But yeah, surprisingly enough, I was always the top 4 in that group because I was the biggest. And that was it. From about grade 6, I stopped and everyone else kept going.
Yeah. I reckon year 6, I kind of grew and that was it.
Yeah. We had an all school photo in my high school. So there's 1,000 kids. When you do class photos, it goes in height.
Yeah.
So it's smallest in the middle at the front, goes out and out. I'm sitting on the floor. 1,000 people and I'm sitting on the ground because I was the smallest.
This makes me want to give you a hug.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of still unresolved issues. So how come you like bodybuilding and powerlifting? Yeah.
Yeah. I was never really conscious of my height until I got my last group of friends. It was the first
they're
group.
All massive.
Yeah, they're just for some reason decided to befriend the tallest humans alive. So it's just me and my mate who are just 5'6", 5'7".
Yeah.
And then we just walk around and I'm just like, I look like I'm these kids' little brothers.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw Brenton the other week and I was just like, how do I talk to you? You go, so you do the bro hug thing and you're like, but you're just...
Yeah. Now I just instead I'll just masculinize them a different way. I'll really grip them. Just squeeze them. I'm
bigger and stronger than you.
Yeah. I'll pick you up, throw you for one.
You guys are just speaking my whole life.
It's lots of
another day of my
nods.
life.
Yeah. How tall are you?
150 centimeters.
150 flat. What's that?
4'11".
4'11".
Not quite 5.
That's
shit.
Best weightlifter mechanics in the world ratios though.
And correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the nicest squats on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Not strong, but nice.
It's strong. Very strong.
Modest as well.
Yeah.
I love it. You make a really good bodybuilder.
Let's peak next year and we'll see. Do the photo shoot and then we'll do a powerlifting comp. We'll see.
So everybody knows who you are already because I've already done the intro. So we do that after the pod.
Oh, no, now the people know.
Yeah.
They thought we were so clear.
Yeah. So just letting you know, just so you're they haven't introduced me yet.
This is so awkward. All they do is talk about how short they are.
So
this is their way of making me feel comfortable.
Absolutely.
We're short too.
100%. This is my life.
My people.
So just for the people at home who haven't or don't know much about you, give the audience just a little bit of who you are, where your interests are, where you're at the moment.
Life's pretty hectic at the moment. Lots of moving pieces. So, head coach at any time. Also mentoring another coach there and helping him build up his business. Mentoring AIPT students to become
Unreal.
PTs, and then running my own business too. So that's where I spend a lot of my time.
Lots of hats.
Lots of hats.
Yeah.
And then full-time fur dog mummy to Zena
Yeah. Let's go.
and Matt. And apparently...
Full-time mum to Matt as well. Full-time mum.
Separate. There was a full stop in between.
Sometimes partner.
No.
Also throwing him under the bus as furry.
I feel you, bro. I feel you there.
Skip things. I don't. Sorry, dude.
Yeah. And then training-wise, like goals, kind of what you're working on, things you like to do.
Training at the moment, we're knuckling down into a photo shoot at the end of May.
Let's go.
Yeah, it was strength for a little bit, but things kept coming up. I kept getting sick. So back off the barbells for a little bit. It was just too taxing for me with all the stresses. And then so bodybuilding style training is my jam.
Let's Oge.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, May 31st. Locked in.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the date. Actually, the email's going out today.
Today, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll buy
which
my
would be in 2 weeks. So
It's already been out.
yeah, 2 weeks.
It's been out 2 weeks.
2
ago.
weeks, yeah, for everyone else.
Inception.
Yeah.
Twitch.
Messing with people's minds right now.
Including our own.
Yeah. So theme of today, how to get results and keep them. Because when we want people to come to this episode, we want to be like, what's all of the moving parts to putting a plan together and making sure these people absolutely crush their goals. And like we always say, set new goals. We want people not, running that perpetual cycle of just like, losing the weight and putting it back on, or, adding the weight and losing it, or, gaining any strength and losing it. So we want to go, right, this is the best way to set things up. This is how we do it. And these are all of the things you need to have in a row to absolutely crush it. So without further ado, I think we should get stuck into it.
Let's do it.
All right. So we start with goals. Yeah. We start with the first place is goals.
Always.
Now, why do you need to start with goals when it comes to getting results? Like, what are the main things? Why is it so important, and what does it give somebody?
Direction. Clear direction. Because then you'll see all these shiny things along the way and you'll be like, oh, I need to do this and this and this and this, which a couple of check-ins ago, and it was like, you need to pick one goal. So myself included.
How did that check-in go? I think I want bigger glutes and quads, but I want to do a surplus, but I also want to grow and get stronger. And can we add some running? I think there was one other thing too. And I was like, how about we just do the photo shoot? Just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So even from personal experience, like how do you feel kind of nailing down on that one thing now? Like how do you...
The noise of just trying to be the best at everything, it's the clarity and black and white choices that you can do. Like, okay, this is my goal. If this is what I want, lifestyle choice is going to reflect that. It's not trying to cater for all of these things. And that's where burnout usually comes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you were someone who is struggling to communicate their goal, and we've probably all experienced that sitting down with people, like they kind of have an idea of what it is, but they maybe don't know how to say it. What would you say to those people? Like, are there any strategies that you have to help them communicate that?
A couple of ways, depending on who's in front of me.
Yep.
Generally, they'll start off really broad, like super broad. Like, I just want to lose some weight and get strong, but not be very clear on what that means and what that looks like for them.
Yep.
And so I'd go 12 months. In 12 months' time, if you were to achieve your dream goal, what would that look like? And then work backwards from there.
Yeah.
And then see whether that's actually realistic in that time frame.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one other thing we like to ask people just to prompt them is like, would you like to feel better, look better, or perform better?
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, everyone's going to say like all of them, but usually we'll just be like, do you want to rank them in importance for you? Yeah, most of the time they'll put feel better at the top, because feeling better has a really immediate effect on everyone.
Yeah.
But then they'll either go, I want to look better or perform better. So you can kind of lean into the top two.
Pretty much.
And then it's like, okay, well, what does look better mean for you?
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, okay, so I'm looking like this. And then you're trying to get something like super tangible, something that you can set a timeline to, get specific with your training,
yes,
track everything so that we're going to get the best result in the shortest period of time.
It's prevents that like fun run mentality too. Like no one does a fun run because they want to do a fun run.
Yeah, it's not fun.
It's like, what's the feeling, look, vibe?
It's not fun for most people.
Yeah. What's the feeling that I'm going to have at the end? Is it competency? Is it, I'll lose weight if I do this? Is it energy? Is it fit? It's like, whatever. The fun run is like something to commit to that's going to give usually a feeling.
Yeah.
But sometimes like a tangible outcome as well. So these questions are like, before you go give yourself shin splints and beat yourself up and hate getting out of bed and going for the run, why are you doing it? So then your coach can be like, well, to do that, this is the most efficient way. What's the pathway that you're going to enjoy? And we actually put a plan together that is actually
realistic.
Yeah, realistic and tangible, but you'll also want to do it.
Yeah.
Not thinking I have to go run a 20K to feel and look the way that I look, or I have to powerlift, or I have to bodybuild, or I have to CrossFit my way there. It's like, here's a vehicle that's going to get you that feeling, that goal, that outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would be an example of a strong goal versus a weak one?
Weak one would just be like, you're not driven by it. You don't. It's
Get
not
fit,
very.
tone up.
Yeah, it's very, like I said, very broad, and doesn't hold much meaning to you. And so on those really hard days, those low motivation days, the low energy days, it's like, oh, if I skip one day, it's gonna be fine, kind of thing. Like it's not gonna add to my result anyway.
Yeah.
You know, because all of those factors where you're not tracking, you don't know what the plan is to get you there. There's too much ambiguity.
Yeah.
That's going to be a weak goal.
Yeah,
where it's like,
absolutely.
okay, you do really hard, everything 100% for 1-2 weeks, and then it's like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. I'm good
Yeah,
now.
so it's got to have some meaning. There's got to be some value to it. It's got to tie into the values and, have a really large degree of significance. I think one of the other ones is like, you've got to be able to identify when you're there.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people are like, I want to feel better. I want to lose weight. I want to, get fit, tone up. And it's like, well, you could get fit and tone up tomorrow.
Yeah.
You could lose weight tomorrow. You could feel better tomorrow. And it's like, is that, like, are we finished tomorrow? Like, what is the end outcome and how can we identify it? Because then everything, you can put the chain of events from that in terms of the plan, the things to track like we spoke about before. So it's got to mean something. There's got to be some value to it. And there has to be some form of like identification on like the timeline, specificity of it.
I think a lot of people are either naive or hesitant to look at the actual why too. Like you said, it's got to mean something. It's like, what does it mean? Is it that at the moment you change your outfit 5 times before you leave the house on a Friday night? Like that sucks. I don't want to feel like that anymore. But then I'll come into the gym and it's like, oh, I just like want to get a little bit fitter. Because you don't want to be vulnerable and really check into that feeling and what it would be like to not have that feeling. So when I like it's got to mean something.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, okay, well, the tangible, this is the timeline till the photo shoot. This is the timeline to the losing the 10 kilos or whatever. But those days that it's like, I can't be bothered. It's got to, the feeling of that has got to be worse and the feeling of not having that's going to be better.
Yeah.
You still show up.
Yeah. The desire, I would say like the desire to achieve the outcome has to just overwhelm every other acute feeling that you have at that time.
Yeah. Which if you don't know what the feeling of the outcome is, it makes it really fucking hard.
Absolutely. So then we've got these, we kind of already mentioned, like we zoom things out and we look like, long term, but let's be real. Like everybody wants results tomorrow. Like we want them in a month. We want them, in 8 weeks. So we see the transformation. So what would you say to somebody, like trying to balance that, like short term, still wanting to achieve results, but also like thinking long term in terms of sustainability. Like we want people to achieve the result and keep it, but we totally acknowledge people want rapid results at the same time.
Yeah.
So what would you say to people who want to balance that?
It's achievable. Yep. We break down what your lifestyle looks like right now, and then we put in factors to make that work. Okay. And then it's a block, it's a phase. You're not going to be in a deficit forever. Yeah.
It's not a lifestyle. You're not dieting forever. You're not losing weight forever.
And I sit down with so many people that are like, I've just been trying to lose weight for the longest time, for years on end, and constantly being on a deficit, but not technically. But, that effort and that frustration,
Yeah.
chronic frustration,
Yeah.
is debilitating.
Yeah,
And
like they want to.
Yeah.
They want to lose the weight, and they've been trying, but maybe just, for whatever reason,
Yeah.
it just hasn't been working.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so acknowledging that first, it's a block, it's a phase for however long, map it out for them.
Yep.
And then after that, give them an idea of what it looks like after as well. So there's the next goal already put in place.
There's so much power to that because they probably can't see past the first,
Milestone,
obstacle, milestone. They can't see past that. Especially for someone like you just explained, like I've been trying to get in shape for 2, 3, 5, 10 years, whatever. I've tried so many times and failed. They don't know what it's like to achieve it and beyond. So sometimes there's a lot of power in us having that confidence to look past it too and just be like, you're going to do this. This is the timeline. And then from there, we have other options.
They almost don't believe the first one's possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then as the coach, if you're like, when you've done that, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
It just makes it like not even a thought. I think a big part for coaches is like actually shrinking things. I don't mean like take away from the values. Like one hand, we're making it way more valuable. And on the other hand, we're just making it normal.
Yeah.
Like the whole let's normalize. It's like, let's normalize you getting results. And this is the first step. And then we're going to do this, this, and this.
Yeah. Yeah, I know one thing I try and normalize and make people feel comfortable with is actually expressing their goal.
Yeah.
Let's be real, like you're going to sit down with somebody, you don't really know this person. So they're not that comfortable with you. So then for them to go and say something like, I want to look a certain way, I want to feel a certain way, I want to do a certain thing. And it seems to be a little bit, kind of, I guess, not acceptable to talk about improving how you look.
Yeah.
So I'm real like, this is a safe space. And sometimes I'll even just break the ice and just be like, I literally only train to look good. Like I'll just, which is kind of true, but
yeah,
I kind of just do it to make them feel comfortable as well. I'm like, if I didn't get a positive benefit from my aesthetics training, I just wouldn't do it. I'd pick another hobby, just be a terrible golfer or something.
And a lot of people are.
Yeah. So I'm giving them that encouragement where it's like, this is a space where you talk about exactly what you want and how you want to look and feel and all that. And then we're going to make that happen for you.
Yeah.
Because if you went to your friendship circle and you kind of spoke about that, like I feel like most cases they'd just be like, "What would you do that for?" Because most people aren't prepared to do it themselves, so they're just like, "Stay with us."
Yeah,
Huge.
Don't go off and better yourself.
Circles, partners, family.
Yeah, it's tough. So there's so much to being specific, having direction, having meaning, with the goal stuff. And then I thought like the next thing that makes sense from there, where we do a lot of work on, is the mentality part of it. Like we could mindset, mentality. We prefer mentality because it just sits well with our brand. But when you look at someone who gets exceptional results, what do you think the key mental characteristics are for a person who, is just constantly just crushing their goals?
Definitely very common. Growth, ownership. Yep. But being able to bounce back when something goes wrong.
Resilience.
Yes.
Love that.
Easy. Yes, acknowledged it didn't go to plan or things pop up, life happens. But seeing that, so you set yourself up for when it does happen again, you're prepared.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen again, or it minimizes the time that you're in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like as much as we would, love to say it, it's like that it's always going to be like this smooth linear ride. So it's like if you don't lose weight, it's just like here's the top, here's the bottom. It just keeps going down. Like life gets in the way, things happen. You've got to have that ability to like bounce back, and you got to have the support too as well. Like it's not as easy to just pick yourself up after something and just keep pushing hard.
Pretty much, but also seeing that, say if there is a pushback, you haven't failed.
No. Yeah.
Or your progress isn't just gone to shit.
Yeah.
It's very normal to see those roadblocks.
Absolutely.
And we just pivot.
Yeah, it's normalizing the reality of that, I think, is super important.
I put something out about this the other week. It's like, what is the average of someone's worst days, weeks over 12-week, 52-week training cycle tells me is way more indicative to their outcomes for me than their best weeks.
Yeah, of course. Well, how many best weeks are you actually having?
Correct. So it's like, what can you do when either you go off plan for a day, or you have that obstacle in life, or you have work's busy or whatever? It's like, how do you respond in those situations will have a greater impact on how close you fly to perfection every week. And most people focus on perfection, and then when something breaks, absolute fuck it, because I'm not even close to perfection. Whereas if you just sit reasonable to that, and when something breaks, it's not a big drop, that'll have exponentially better impact than moving from 95% to 100%.
Yeah, I agree. So you mentioned it briefly. For the people at home, growth mentality, growth mindset, like what would be an example of that?
I was listening to another coach.
How dare you?
I know. But they were saying how growth mindset is more of a spectrum.
Yep.
And so it's not that whether you do or you don't. There's going to be a time and place where you need to nail in and go all in on that. Other times when you need a bit more of a growth mindset, you kind of just wave it between.
Yep.
But if you can lean into more of a growth mindset, you'll see a lot more return on your investment.
Yeah. So would you say, so if someone was like, I've never heard of the term,
Yeah.
how would they know what a growth mindset is? Like, what would be the easiest way to describe it for them?
Being open to change.
Yeah.
Change is scary. And so usually that's the thing that holds people back.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, you've done something for a very long time, but just because you have doesn't mean you should. And that's probably the exact same thing that's keeping you where you are at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think like you said it perfectly. It's like being open to change. And then again, you use the perfect example then. It's like the opposite of growth is being fixed. So as soon as someone's just like, well, I'm never going to lose weight. I can't do this. This is too hard for me, where it's, a real uphill battle for someone in that mentality, where if you're the kind of person where it's like, with the right plan and the right guidance and the right education and obviously the right effort, I can lose weight. I can feel better. I can get in shape. I can get stronger. I can do whatever I want.
Yes.
So we want to have people on this side,
yes,
not the people who totally normal.
Yeah.
You're frustrated, you haven't gotten results for a bit, or you're going 5 days a week and you're not getting anywhere. It's like, that is the person that goes, I can't, because they're trying and it's not working for them.
Yeah.
But we still want to be in the position where it's like, you can, there's nothing wrong with you, you're not broken.
Well, yeah, that's it. Instead of looking in the mirror and go, there's something wrong with you, it's the methods that you're using aren't suitable for you.
Yeah, I just need to try another way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And then, so like moving on to the last one, ownership.
Yeah.
How we would describe that to somebody?
Accountability, where you're raising yourself up to a high standard.
Yep.
You're not there to put yourself down and keep yourself down, because that's easy. Everyone can be very self-critical, and we all know that. Like, we're our own worst
enemies.
critic
Yeah.
and enemies.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's always in there. In even the best athletes, best of the best, they have their own worst critic in their minds. It's how they use that to fuel them the other way to get the results that they want.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just taking responsibility as well. Like, we don't want to be in a position where we're leaving the end outcome up in the hands of somebody else.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's on you to go to the gym. It's on you to
100%.
make your meal prep and show up and be consistent and make it work. Like, the plan's there, and we've got really good ways of setting the plan up with our method to get the result you want.
Yeah.
But if you don't show up, you can't sit there and blame somebody else for it. It's like, this is on me.
Well, yeah, that's it. There's so much more control within your control than most realize.
Yeah.
And it's when you start pointing the fingers outwards, say like there's no time, or work's been just all over the joint, and there's so many reasons externally that you can point, but until you take ownership and take that responsibility, you can only go so far.
Yeah, it's not a nice feeling either.
No.
Like,
It's gonna feel like the world's stacked up against you.
yeah, even when you're not owning up to your shit, and then you have that conversation with yourself, and you're like,
Yeah.
I can go to the gym, and I can be better with my meals. Like,
It's like life's happening to you.
Yeah.
Is it like people who don't have that ownership will often live in a world where life is happening to them, and it's really hard to make any changes because you don't feel like you can affect change in anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The way we encapsulate it is just like it's whether it's your fault or not, it's still your responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like whether it's your fault or not that life's busy, that your kid kept you up, that like whatever it was that was the interruption for that day.
Yeah.
Still your responsibility to find the best possible outcomes in that environment for that day.
Yeah.
And if you can live like that and it's not, this is happening to me.
Yeah.
And I still have control over what I have control over. That's where those, when we were saying before, like the down days become way less down.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. All right. So I feel like we've nailed the mentality part of it. It's like if you believe that with the right plan and the right guidance and stuff that you can achieve the results that you want, if you take responsibility for your actions and the scenario with the support of somebody else or just your plan. And then, like you said before, if you're coachable, if you got that resilience, like you're set to crush your goals. Now it's just about the other moving parts, like nutrition. So I put nutrition first so we can lead into like training and recovery after it, just a kind of layer. If you were to simplify nutrition and how to get results, so we know nutrition is complicated. We know there's so much information out there. So I'm just like, let's condense it for people at home. If you were to simplify nutrition and how to get results, what would it look like?
Just picturing that, the ad of all the bodybuilders eating the protein on the beach. It's like, protein. You like protein? I love protein.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cancel out the noise and go back to your basics.
Yep.
So if there's a plate, and for most, it's a body transformation, fat loss.
Yep.
For majority, not everyone, but regardless of where you're at, protein is going to be your number one.
Yeah.
Number one. And if you think you're not tracking or you don't understand how much you should be having, you're probably not having enough. Realistically.
Protein, absolutely.
Yeah, realistically. Can never have too much, eh?
As someone who's actually purposely tried, you definitely can't. But I know there's a lot of information around, a lot of fear around having more, and they think it's just for people who, are trying to get big and, bodybuilders and stuff. But, we're all made up of proteins.
Yes.
And we need more proteins than people think to, maintain our current levels of tissue levels or recovery, as well as all the other things that protein needs to do for our bodies. So,
and it doesn't have to be that you're lifting weights and then you need protein. It's the everyday person, especially as we're all getting older.
Absolutely.
It becomes so much more important for long-term health, bone density, things that you don't think are important now. But I tell some of my clients, when I'm 80 years old, I want to be able to tie my own shoelace and wipe my own ass.
Yeah.
Simple things like that. And it's because it's such a long-term kind of later down the track, you reap the benefits.
Yeah.
And you can't see that now. It's not what's that? Short-term gratification.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So overlooked.
I think if you're going to look at nutrition as a whole, it's like how far along the specificity spectrum can you sustain day in, day out? And that's probably where your plan's going to be. So we always talk about from a coaching standpoint, it's like, what's the most you could possibly do, which is going to be like, looks like a bodybuilding prep type vibe. And then how far away from that can we be for you to execute every single day? And starting with, like, obviously the audience is probably coming through any time and who you're coaching and who Muhammad's coaching and what that gym is kind of made up from. I feel like if we just walked out on the street and said to everyone, if you eat a bolus dose of protein every time you eat food, you will look exceptionally better within 6 months.
And feel
3
better.
months. Yeah. And perform better and sleep better and all of those things. So it's one of those, like, the reason we go straight to protein is just like it limits your caloric intake. Because you when you go out for dinner on the weekend, like, you can still go out for dinner.
Yeah.
But you're not going to order the carbonara. Because you're like, there's not a bolus dose of protein in there. And you're not going to have, I don't know, whatever else for lunch, like a bowl of fried rice. You're like, I'm going to get the chicken.
Yeah, like a toasty or something.
Yeah, like ham and cheese. Like that's not.
Yeah, it's not enough.
So, yeah, or peanut butter because it says high protein.
Yeah.
Just watch that. But it has a huge impact on your energy intake, your nutrition choices. It's the reason that we default back to protein being like, when you hear personal trainers talk about it so much, that's why, because it regulates so much of your decision making that has positive impact indirectly even of the protein itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think a big one for what I've seen working with a lot of Gen Pop is the first time when they actually up their protein intake, because it's so satiating, it's filling. You don't need much to be full.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, in the past I've had to eat this massive plate or bowl of pasta and then I'm full and now I'm just having a steak and I'm like, oh, okay. And like, you know, it's, and then they think maybe relate that feeling of fullness as a bad thing because they remember the bloatedness from whatever else they ate in the past. But if you were to break it up initially over the day, have it more frequently, but overall intake is still up there and where we need it to be, your body's going to adjust to it just fine. Knowing the difference between full and bloated and all the yucky stuff that you might feel from foods that don't serve you, and then protein, we want that. Reframe that mindset to, okay, I just ate protein, so I'm expecting to feel full a lot quicker than I thought, but my energy is going to be good, my training is going to be even better, and I'm looking for a body transformation. I'm going to add to my goals. This is bringing me close to my goals, not further away.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about protein, super important because you just spent like 10 minutes on it. And it looks like we do a whole podcast on that. So I put food choices at the top. So I've got a little hierarchy here, just making sure that we, you know.
Let's keep us on track. Thanks.
So food choices, we talked about protein. What are some other things that, you know, if you've got someone, you're looking at their current habits and you're like, okay, well, this is what you're eating at the moment. There's no protein. What else are we looking for them to simplify their nutrition?
We'll go. It's like you've said it before, elimination method.
Yep.
Where we eliminate highly processed foods, overly fried foods, or the takeouts, pretty much.
Yep. And even like sometimes I don't like to coin it as like eliminating, but maybe like flip it the other way and just like focus on doing the opposite. So it's like if you go, hey, we need to have more fruit, veggie, plant. Yeah. They'll have less like processed because like we call it an elimination diet, but we call it that.
Yeah.
We don't call it that to them because you know it's like don't push the red button, and then they're just like all I want to do. So if I say to someone like, hey, you can't have a can of Coke. All they want to do is have a can of Coke. Yeah. Where we're just like, hey, if you focus more on like
water,
getting your fluids up.
Yeah.
If you focus more on getting your fluids up, eating some plants, eating some fruits, having some starches, whole grains, proteins, it's like you're gonna not as much. Like you're not saying those things are done forever.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like you want to get like this podcast is about how to get results and keep them.
Yeah.
The foundation of anyone who gets results and keeps them has a high protein diet, but also has foods that are somewhat not processed a lot.
Yeah.
There's obviously a broad spectrum of methods that we use within nutrition, anywhere from just like portion sizes, macro counting, meal plans, whatever. A lot of the people I work with are macro based. Once they get tracking and stuff, they're kind of pretty comfortable with it. They'll write almost like their own meal plan, kind of using that method. Yeah. And my thing's just like, just eat food that likes you. Yeah. So there's some people that like will eat a banana and feel like shit. Don't eat the banana. Like I'm luckily enough that we were talking to Jess about it on YouTube the other week, like with the pasta thing. Yeah. She's like, I can't eat pasta unless someone else serves it, puts it on the plate and put it in front of me because I will overeat that shit. It's like the salted caramel Haagen-Dazs tub. If that like little bit of foil just breaks just a little bit of an air gap, it's over. Yeah. That whole tub is gone.
Oh yeah.
So for me, it's like one that's like a trigger food.
So the hot cross buns.
Yes, doesn't make me feel good. So if there's foods that you eat and you're like, I don't feel good after I eat this, focus on foods like you said. Don't focus on not having them. It's like, well, what foods do make me feel good? Yeah, and let's have those. So if, for example, we're not saying never eat processed food, right?
No.
If I eat Doritos, I eat a lot of them and I feel like shit. like rubbish afterwards, and it sucks because they're fucking delicious.
Love good Doritos.
If I eat any of the flavored popcorns, fine. So it's like, okay, I can eat Doritos and feel like shit, or I can eat some popcorn, maybe drop some Maltesers in it, and I feel great. So it's like, fine, all right, move on with my life. That little element is satiated. I didn't have to have the whole bag, and I still feel good. I'll sleep well, and I can still train tomorrow.
Yeah.
The thing with that one, I've been using, like Ben said, it's different methods depending on the individual and where they're at. And so with the Dorito thing, usually if you sit with a big bag and you're distracted, it's gone. You'll reach the bottom before you realize it.
Absolutely.
So make that intentional step where you portion it out, or buy the assorted mix where it's already pre-portioned for you.
Absolutely.
And you can account for that. It's tracked. It's trackable. Pair it up with like
Protein.
Actuals. Mix it. Don't just have the snack on its own. If you're hungry and you're just looking for a snack, you're setting yourself up for more than just that
Get
one
a FOD
packet.
bar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Check out last week's episode.
Absolutely. So recapping, food choices, super important. Then you already spoke then about eating habits.
Yeah.
So eating habits, it's like, like structured meals, thinking about your food, thinking about how to compose the meals, what to eat. And like we said, it's not just like, I can't eat anything packaged and delicious ever again. It's just like, there's going to be better foods that serve your goals and your health and your performance. And then at some point, we have to get to like the portion control.
Yeah.
So not a lot of people have to get there at the start, because if they focus on those other things, their body will change, and because they're starting a new plan, they're starting a new kind of eating strategy. But at some point, for those people who, want those like exceptional results, like we got to start looking at things like calories and macros, like how much calories you burn in a day as a person, what goals is it, fat loss, muscle gain, etc. And then we start just working with those numbers. But a lot of people to start with will just get with the food choices, the eating habits. Yeah. And you can get by a lot.
More than get by. Yeah.
Yeah. Just having those rules and stuff. So let's think about the typical person that wants to get results. They have an all or nothing mentality. They start a diet, they fail it. They maybe diet Monday to Friday, and then from that point onwards, eat out the cupboards and then start again the next week. How do we stop that for someone? What are we doing there?
Forward planning.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we've spoken about it on the pod recently, that forward planning is everything. Yeah. Like anecdote, last night, 9:00, Tupperware came out. So I have 2 big bowls of, one of chicken, one of mince, and a big thing of rice that I just eat out of during the week. Work from home perks, I get it. It's like, I have to leave the house today. So it's like, okay, for me, it's to the level of what time am I going to have this meal, what time am I going to have that meal. Then I know when I leave the gym this afternoon, I'm going to be really hungry, and Jess is coming with me, so I'm going to be cranky. I don't want to stop and get an up and go at the servo.
Yeah.
So what am I going to take with me that satiates me that hour that I can get to the meal at home?
Yeah.
So I've thought through all the pitfalls that could potentially happen today and already dealt with them all.
Yeah. Yep.
So same with, like, I don't know about you guys, but one of the biggest ones, like, I've got this event on this weekend. What do I do? And it's the same. If you forward plan, you don't get caught in a situation where I'm really hungry.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's out right now is the bowl of Doritos.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about options, right? So last thing on the nutrition, Mimi, what are the biggest reasons you think people struggle with nutrition so much?
The inability to regulate or forward plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that's a choice though, or do you think that they maybe need to become a little bit more educated on some things about nutrition?
Yeah, look, if we slow down and not be on autopilot and just stop for a second and kind of be present and think like, okay, what is actually going to serve me right now? What's actually going to add to my goals? That step alone could mitigate so much.
Yeah.
And then if we can pivot that and move that the night before, the week ahead, and then you've already set yourself up heaps as well. And not to say that, look, with regulating, usually if we lean too much into the emotion side, and not to say we're going to be robots at the end of this, but when we let emotion dictate our choices and behaviors, that's when it's going to be a bit haywire.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're saying emotionally eating,
Yes.
not being aware of like why we're hungry and what to eat.
Yeah.
And then I'm still a big proponent. Like I know not a lot of people know why they need to eat and what to eat. So sometimes like they fail because of just like that lack of understanding.
Yeah.
So it's on us to be like, hey, this is why we eat. This is what we need, and this is what you need for your goals. And then just like take a moment, and when you are hungry, gravitate to these foods. Like most people just like, they'll just eat whatever because they're just like, well, hunger means food. And then I'll just eat food. And so then when I eat food, I'm not hungry anymore. But then they're like, oh, I don't like how I feel. I don't like how I look. And we're like, well, those things can change. It's just like when we get hungry, we don't just eat anything. We eat these things over here.
Yeah, and you get trapped in that, like, I know I shouldn't. I know I should eat better.
Yeah, but
you're still in that situation of like you said, hunger equals satiation is the goal. So it's like, oh, I know I should. I'm having weird visions because we got on the F1. I was like, I know I'm hungry and there's a hot dog stand, so I'll just get the hot dog and then the hunger will go away. I know I should probably eat better. Versus, I'm hungry. My choices are the chicken and rice, or I
made my food and
food
brought it
that
with
I
me.
brought because I actually understand that protein does this. This will be satiating. This is how it helps my goal, etc., etc. Instead of just like, I know I should eat better.
Yeah, and the other thing that layers on is because you can see where that fits into getting your results.
Yeah.
Then you're more likely to do it as well. Because like the people that sit there and say like, oh, I know I should eat better. Well, you know, but because you don't have a plan and you can't see yourself getting the outcome you want, you don't care. So you just eat whatever because it doesn't matter. You feel it's like the same as where I am now. It doesn't matter if I eat the food. So you just do it. But if you're like, oh, I've got my training sorted. I know when to like my activity sorted. I know what foods to eat. I'm getting results. All of those things are like, oh, I'm hungry. I've got to eat this food now. So there's just so many things that kind of layer with that.
Definitely.
But it definitely comes down to like, stop yourself, try to not emotionally trigger yourself with food, be aware of what hunger, and then pick certain foods that are going to be better for you and obviously your goals.
Like you said, the awareness does all of that.
Yeah.
That one step to just stop before you eat and have a think about what's about to happen. I do want to touch on, just before we move on from that, because you mentioned like the emotional eating thing. Be really careful. There's a difference between, I call them sad foods. In our house, it's like, I'm having sad foods. And there's a difference between making a conscious decision of being like, I'm sad, I'm reaching for ice cream, and an emotional spiral that's like, I want to stop eating and I'm continuing to eat. That's like true emotional binge eating is I want to stop and I fucking can't, versus I'm making a choice because I'm not had a good day, so I'm going to kind of soothe that with donuts and ice cream. They're not the same thing. We as personal trainers, the I can't stop thing, we can't deal with that. Like that's not in our scope. The feelings thing, we can help with.
Yeah, it's like maybe don't do that.
What's the goal wise? Yeah. Be sad less. No.
No, like just don't gravitate to that food.
Yeah, but if
other strategies also
in the situation you're talking about, you're in that situation, you're like, I'm sad, I'm going to have ice cream. Taking that back, okay, so I tend to, if I'm emotional, I will eat. What's the alternative? Because I'm going to do what Mimi said and stop for a second. And I'm going to do what you said and go, I know I need to eat these foods. I know I need to do this training. I'm seeing results. I'm just going to be more sad tomorrow if I do this.
Yeah.
So what's a better choice? So I think it's just important to distinguish like the emotional eating thing, because it's
very surprised you went there, Ben.
It's misdelivered on the internet a lot.
It's very surprised you went there. All right, so let's get on to the good part.
Yeah.
Training.
Let's talk about training. Let's fucking go. All right, so training. What are the moving parts involved in training and programming for a client? Like where do we start? So let's go from step one. I have a goal. Yeah. What does the training program look like and where are we coming at it from?
How many days you can come into the gym?
Yep.
Usual like screening, like any previous injuries, experiences. Are you
Limitations.
an absolute beginner, intermediate?
Skill level?
Skill level.
Absolutely.
And then the first block is usually where I see how they respond to movements. Do they understand intensity? Are they taking their rest breaks? Are they consistent in maintaining the days that they said they will come in? Then from there I can make changes.
So if we look at a training program for everyone at home, we're like, how many days can you commit to your training program? And then from there, we have this like initial block where we're trying to teach you the fundamental movements, or even just like seeing how you perform anyway. Because I know I do that even with people who are 3-4 years into the game. With those workouts though, how do we know what those workouts look like? Like, where does that come from? Like, is everyone getting the same training program, or are we looking at a certain thing to guide our decision making with those programs?
It's dependent on what their goal is.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
And preferences.
example of that would be maybe one program's like a strength based kind of, someone who's interested in, their physique development. It might not be the same as someone who's like maybe newer to the gym and like their main goal is weight loss. Those two programs aren't the same.
No.
Which is why you're going to get separate
Focuses.
separate lens looking through the program as well. And then you already spoke about it as well. Someone who's trained for 3 or 4 years who has weight loss as their goal isn't going to get the same movements as someone who's new to the gym with weight loss as their goal as well. So you're going to pick the movements based on their skill level as well. Because I know there's a bit of a misconception, like when you go into the gym, like you should do these like super complicated exercises and, they're going to give you the best benefit. But it's like, if you're a new person to the gym, like complication is not a great thing to have lots of.
No.
So we want to simplify it and get you better at moving so you don't hurt yourself, and make the training as effective as possible. So if there's other layers, there's other layers to it now though. So we've got the goal, we've got their training commitments, and then we've got like the movement screening and stuff. What are some other things that are important for why we need to have a program and why we're so dialed in on our training?
Exercise selection, knowing how to progress you.
Yep.
And it adds into that framework of, this is where we're starting, but this is where we want for you to be to meet our goal. And whether it's that photo shoot that you're looking for, or if it's a lift off a powerlifting thing, it's like, okay, this is what we're
progressing towards
essentially.
Yeah. So why is progression so important for the people at home who don't know? Because like there's some people that walk into the gym and do the same workout every day. So why do we want that person why do we set up our plans so that there's that progressive mindset? It's like, we want you here, but we want you finishing up here. What does that give somebody?
Enough stimulus for you to get stronger and adapt.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how that was just such a simple way of explaining it. It's just like, if you stay the same.
I almost doubted myself for a second. I was like,
should it be more complicated?
But it's as simple as that. It's like, if you do the same thing, you stay the same.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that person has the idea.
Yeah.
Try and chip a little bit more. 1 more rep, half a kilo.
Yeah.
Huge. Work on your technique, get more control. Like those things, like I always like blankly are like, are you lifting more weight? Are you doing more reps? But for people who are newer to the gym, it's how you lifting the weight as well, which is a consideration for progression too. Because if someone's like super shaky at the start and all of a sudden they're controlling that same way, that's progression.
It is.
That's you getting better at things. But then you go, let's add more reps. Let's push ourselves. Let's challenge our bodies. Because then if you challenge your body, it goes, I've got to get stronger.
Yeah.
I've got to get leaner. I've got to get bigger. Whatever it is that you want to do and the goal set up for. But if you do the same, you get the same. All right. So what are the what are the biggest problems you see with people's training inside the gym? Even when you consult with people, what are the things that you see with their training programs and why having a program is so important?
Junk volume.
Yep. So just too much work.
Too much work.
Yep.
Not enough intensity. The intensity is just not there. They feel a bit of a burn and that's all they chase.
Yep.
But when you look at it, it's either, usually they're not pushing hard enough.
So what would an idea of pushing hard enough be?
Yeah. So if you've been doing the same program for a little bit, so not a fresh new program, you've been at the program for 3-4 weeks maybe, this is where you can really play with intensity because your body is used to the movements, you know what the routine is, you can lock in. By the end of that set, you can maybe squeeze out 1 to 3 max. Extra reps without taking a break.
Yeah.
Maintaining good form. Maybe there's a bit of a breakdown in range, but that intensity is what we want to work up to.
Yeah. So training close to failure, but
100%.
not to failure all the time.
No.
But just getting to a point where it's like you're kind of questioning, like, there wasn't many reps left there.
Yeah.
And it got hard. The subjective difficulty of it towards the end of the set was really high.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And those reps are still quality.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
it.
So you've got people just doing like aimless, ridiculous amounts of work, which we
For
know
the same,
at some point won't give you any return because everybody I feel like's done it at some point. You've got intensity working, not working hard enough. What else do you see people, like the biggest things that in the gym people experience with their training that's letting them down?
It's either they stick to something for too long or they don't stick to anything at all.
Yeah, so not sticking to a plan at all, and if you stick to something and it's not working, you don't have any reference point to change it.
Pretty much, not tracking it.
Yeah.
It's not trackable.
Yeah, that's also another one.
Yeah.
It's like if you're not logging your workout progress, like how are you supposed to get better every week?
Yeah. The other one I would say is like exercise selection, specifically for the person we're talking to that's like trying to get back into training more often than not. It's like who we've got coming through for PT, right? If you're in that boat, exercise selection is going to be important in a different way to say like for a bodybuilder. A bodybuilder's like, I'm going to select this exercise to hit this very specific range of the muscle or position or even the muscle itself. For when we're writing for someone who's maybe in their first year of training, it's like, what can I give you to allow you the best chance to get into that intensity zone? So if you're not amazing at squatting on a barbell, in my opinion, 99% of the population are strong enough to squat their body weight, but they don't have the skill to do it because you can sit on the toilet and you can get off the toilet.
Yeah.
So unless you're like grabbing the walls, you can probably squat your body weight. Okay. But putting a barbell, there's complications. It's getting like that, like systemic control and coordination to
mobility
work.
demands as well. Yeah.
All of those things. And it's like, okay, what's the benefit of you trying to back squat right now? Can we put you in a leg press and you can just go to fucking work? Yes. Amazing. Let's do that. And I think in that earlier phase, that's the mistake that people make. The exercises are too complicated that don't facilitate their ability to work hard because they think
the complication is going to get them the results.
Isn't what's required.
And that's what skews their perception of intensity.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's so much they've got to think
really
about.
hard.
Yeah, it's hard, but the actual muscle's not being worked at the intensity that we want it to.
Yeah. You can take a simple exercise and make it hard by putting adequate effort. The exercise doesn't have to be complicated in order for you to work hard.
Exactly.
That's, I think, and it's getting that balance right. And as you get better, the goal is to progress you to those more complex movements. But it's like they're not the reason that you're going to get better results. It's like it's your effort in the gym working as hard as you can, which is going to get you better results. All right. So moving to recovery, last stop. Call recovery and lifestyle. So why should someone who is serious about lifting their results consciously think about their recovery?
If you care about mitigating injury, which a lot of people are, getting the best results in terms of results equals, yes, effort in the gym, yes, nutrition, but if you're not letting your body actually reset and come back stronger, you're going to hit a wall.
Yeah.
Or there's going to be leakage somewhere, stress is going to come up somewhere else in your life, and it's going to plummet through you.
Yeah, I like to think of it like you can only burn the candle at both ends for so long.
Yeah, that's it.
So it's like you have a stressor component to everything. We need to fill the cup back up. Let's use that analogy better.
Yeah.
So every time we go out to day, we work, we have responsibilities, we have everything, that's draining the cup. And then we go to the gym, we train hard, that drains the cup as well. So to fill the cup back up, we need to sleep well. We need to make sure we're moving our body in a lower intensity just to get some blood flowing. We've got to eat well. We've got to try our best to have scenarios where it's not that intense.
Yeah.
Just where possible, because all those things fill the cup back up. So the more we can fill that cup back up, then we go back into the gym and we're either as good as we were at the start of the week in terms of energy, or we're as close to the energy that we were at the start of the week pre-session. And if we do that, we're going to train better. We're going to train probably more precise, because as we get more recovered, under recovered, we can, do things not as well. That leaves us more susceptible to injury, et cetera, and then it just goes down that route of
decision making as well.
Absolutely.
I've had a couple of clients now, and they'll have a big night, or work's fucked them, and it's like an all-nighter kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they'll come to the training session, and they're like, I've just gone so much weaker. And it really hits them. And it's not until that they see that comparison that they appreciate rest, recovery, nutrition.
Yeah. Your sensitivity to stress is higher. Your perception of effort is skewed as well.
Yes.
So things that you normally would be like, this isn't that hard, are really hard when you're under recovered. So there's a lot of things that can get in the way if we're not consciously looking at those recovery protocols. So leaning to my next question. Sorry, Ben.
Yeah, fine.
What are the things most impactful to an individual's recovery? Where would you start?
Sleep.
Good job. So what does that look like for someone? Because they're everyone's going to be like, oh, I wish I could sleep. Where do we start? How much? What does it look like?
Yeah. I think golden standard across the board, depending 7 to 9 hours.
Yeah, I think that's good for an adult. I usually say 6 to 9, because I know some people who don't need as much sleep and still feel rested.
Yeah.
So I think it's the most amount of sleep between 6 to 9 hours where you wake up feeling rested.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see 6:58 on my Garmin. I'm like, oh no. It's just like there's something happens at 7 hours that it's just like, oh no.
Yeah.
My brain, it's a 4 coffee day today.
Yeah. I'm a 7 hour. If anything under 7, I'm a shell of a human.
Yeah, I'm at my best 8.5.
Oh yeah?
But I'm good at 7. And I'm rubbish under that.
Yeah. If I sleep too long, I'm awful as well,
disgusting.
though.
Yeah.
I have a window.
Up with, a headache.
Yeah, I have a window where if it's got a 6 or below, you don't want to be around me.
Yeah, agreed.
My wife's a bit like, every time we go on a holiday and you've got to do the travel day, she's always just like, don't want to
Airports with social anxiety and low sleep.
Yeah, it's not good. So we've got sleep. Where else do we go after that for the people at home?
A huge one that Ben brought to my attention, especially when I started wearing all these hats, was being able to regulate as many times as possible throughout the day. Yeah.
So I put that under stress management.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a really important one, because people just accept that life's, chaotic, but then they just think that they'll just absorb it. And it's we know these things can't, the hats that you wear and the lifestyles we have, we can't control them completely. So it's about dealing with them as well. So it is regulation, bit of downtime, some practices and stuff that aren't keeping you always up here.
We're not being so reactive as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mindset, mentality, how we think and react to those things. So we've got stress management. We've got sleep.
That's you.
What other things impact someone's recovery?
Impacts them.
Yeah. So what else are we doing to improve someone's recovery, or making sure that they're recovering adequately?
The things that we spoke about just before, making sure that training volume is adequate.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're not doing a ridiculous amount of junk volume.
Yeah.
Purposeful, strategic training.
Yes, exactly. That they're fueled throughout the day.
Yeah.
Just because you're trying to get fat loss transformation result doesn't mean you should starve yourself or do this crazy intermittent fasting or whatever fad you picked up to achieve that result.
Yeah, absolutely. So they were all of the nails on the head I had. I had diet, and then I had diet and calories, but I also had nutrients.
Yeah.
So a lot of people miss the mark, and when let's be real, if you're trying to lose body fat, you're trying to lose weight, you got to eat less food than your body can burn, because your body wants to burn the body fat, so we have to have a net deficit. But that doesn't mean that we should not look for certain foods that are really nutrient dense.
Yes.
Because our body needs those nutrients to function. So we've got to look for those groups of foods we were talking about earlier, plants, fruits, lean proteins, and other things alike. Because those things not only have the energy and the macros, they also have those little micronutrients that help, antioxidants, vitamins, etc. And our body needs those things. So we can still somewhat recover better with those things when we look to food choices. And then you've got sleeping, which is more important than anything. And then the last one I'll probably put there is like your hydration status.
Yeah.
So just making sure that...
Just waiting to get into that one.
Yeah. So just making sure that you've got adequate hydration throughout the day. And I think that what people don't realize is you don't just have to have water, like it's fluid. So we've got fluid, I would say usually for most people around 2 to 3 liters a day is okay. And then about 600 mils per every 30 minutes that you're training. I think if you're consuming that in terms of fluid, you're doing pretty good. Obviously we want most of it to come from water. Don't want to get 3 liters of fluid from, Pepsi Max in a day. A couple of cans or maybe 1 can's okay, but it's like most of it's coming from water. Most of it's coming from like other good, tea and things like that. It's totally fine.
Yeah, I agree.
So I feel like we really hit the nail on the head there. It's like when we're looking at results and you're getting results and keeping them, and this is our kind of progress pathway. It's like we sit with somebody, we get really clear on their goals, really clear on their ambitions, why we set up that plan for them. We work with them to make sure that they have that belief and that growth and that mentality to show up, do the thing, get the results that they want. We set their nutrition up to eat the foods that they want to eat and the foods that they need to eat. And then we coach them with a method that's going to sit well with their preferences and work with them along the way. And then when they go into the gym, they have a plan. It's really specific to their goals and capabilities, but it's progressive to make them better. And it's to target the things that they want to target to get the results that they want. And then lastly, obviously, we want to make this a lifestyle for them. So we want them to recover and we want them to do all of the things so that they can be at their best. But we also want to show them how to live the lifestyle to keep the results that they have. And that is everything we spoke about. Forward thinking their food, planning it, their warm-ups, thinking about their sessions, making it a priority for themselves, making them a priority for themselves.
When you're clear on what that looks like, you've got that plan, you know what the execution is. When it comes to that event and you're going to be peer pressured by friends and family, you should be fine, you're fine. It's just one.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're going to be strong in... I'm not a man of words today, but you're going to be strong in like what your goal is.
Yeah, you're going to have the willpower.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to say, no, thank you.
Yeah. Because you're getting the results. It means more to you.
Exactly.
When you're getting results, everyone's like, oh, you got to develop willpower. But you just have to somewhat just wake up one day and just believe it out of nowhere. It's like, no. Willpower comes when you have a plan and you can see it. Like if you believe something happens, like I didn't wake up doing the same thing today and go, you know what? I don't know. For all of a sudden, I just believe in myself. It's like something had to change for you to have the willpower, and the plan is everything for that. And then obviously the support as well. Like I just can't, I can't put a value on just like having someone to lean on to help you with those things.
Definitely.
Okay, I thought that was going to be a short ep, but that went everywhere, which was really good and really detailed. So for everyone at home, what's the last thing that you would give them for advice if they wanted to crush their goals? What's one last piece of advice you would give them?
Don't give up at the first sight of something not going your way.
Yeah, that's huge. I love that. All right, beautiful. Well, if this is your first time here, guys, hit the follow button. Listen to all of the other episodes that we have. I think we're at like 160 or something at this point or something.
Yeah, I realized the other day we've done nearly 500 now.
Yeah. So make your way through the rest of the episode. Start from this current episode.
Go backwards.
Please go backwards. Don't start from the start. They just get progressively worse in quality. So stop once you don't feel like it. Make sure you're finding us on socials at STCfit on Instagram, and then hit YouTube's popping off. So
500.
Yeah, YouTube's popping off. We're going all in on YouTube this year. So go over to YouTube, hit the sub button, and thank you so much, guys. And if you've got any feedback, drop a comment if you're on Spotify or YouTube, wherever you are, and we'll catch you next episode. And special thanks to Mimi for jumping on. This won't be the last time you see her. All right, see you guys.